Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 8th April 2021, and in this video we'll be looking at this couple of issues. Deconstructing declarations of carbon neutrality. Before we begin this article, let us understand this term carbon neutrality. Also, it is also known as net zero emissions. Whenever we are talking about carbon neutrality or net zero emissions, we have to understand that in the terms of pollution, we are not talking about a scenario where there is no pollution at all or no emission of greenhouse gases. No, that is not the case we are talking about. Rather, a net zero emission economy talks about a scenario where the country's emissions are compensated by absorption and removal of greenhouse gases from atmosphere. So whatever is taken up will exactly be equal to whatever is being emitted. So this sums up what is known as the carbon neutral economy or a net zero emission economy. In contrast, you also have to understand a scenario which is at the moment considered to be hypothetical, that is a post-carbon economy. Post-carbon economy generally means that it is an economic model where there is no involvement of greenhouse gas emissions. India and the world aspires to move towards a post-carbon economy to avoid the effects of climate change. But at this point of time, it is simply not viable to even dream about it. So in the context of the global politics, let us understand what this global target of carbon neutrality actually means. So this goal of carbon neutrality is only the latest formulation of a discussion going on for decades. So what this campaign seeks to achieve is a scenario, especially in the developed countries, where net zero emissions are achieved. The reason why we are talking about net zero emissions is because there are a lot of scientists who say that it is the only way to achieve the Paris Agreement target of containing the planet's temperature below 2 degrees Celsius when you compare it to pre-industrial times, that is 1757. Now in the current policies and actions, if you take a look at them and evaluate them, it is very clear that we cannot prevent anything less than 3 to 4 degrees Celsius rise will eventually happen if things are going on at the present pace. And long-term targets must ensure predictability. That is not simply possible with the business as usual approach. So considering all these factors, all the countries, importantly European Union, China, and even recently United States, is aspiring to move towards the carbon neutral economy. Now this article says that India should not join this game because if you have to weigh between economics versus environment, India cannot afford to ignore its economic development at the cost of saving our environment. This is because a lot of factors are involved. Now let us look into the details as to why this author believes that this is not a reason for India to move towards a carbon neutral economy. If you take the unique position that is in the case of India, you have a scenario where the country is marked by stark socio-economic differences between the citizens of the country. India is home for 38% of kids who are malnourished in the country. At the same time, it is also important to note that this percentage is not showing us the exact number. In fact, India has the highest number of malnourished kids in the world. So this is a development challenge, and to meet this challenge, we have to grow economically. Economic growth is a must for this scenario. Not just this one indicator, there are various other indicators. India by 2047 is going to enter into an economic phase where the majority of the population is going to peak. So before that, we have to reach what is known today as demographic dividend, or we have to best utilize our population who are in the working age to ensure that they get maximum jobs, gainful employment. Otherwise, it will lead to a demographic disaster. And in order to achieve all this, it would simply be not possible if we focus just on environmental protection. Rather, there are a lot of other countries in the world which have already peaked their emissions, and at the same time, they are in that stage of technological development which can actually dream of absorbing all the additional greenhouse gases that are already producing. India does not have such kind of infrastructure or the bandwidth to go towards a carbon neutral economy in the short term. That is one reason why we are opposing it, not because we don't want to do it. In fact, we are doing much more than what is possible with our renewable energy targets. If you remember that till 2020, Kyoto Protocol was supposed to be under place. We have to remember that a lot of countries dropped out of this protocol. Certain countries like Canada did not even take this up at all. Even USA did not adhere to its targets. In fact, it completely missed or ignored the targets. So during this phase, India was the only major economy which was trying to focus on this aspect of sustainable development. Today, we are producing nearly 38% of our energy needs through renewable resources. That is a significant achievement, and we are going to achieve this target and increase the percentage to 57% as declared by our Prime Minister. So this speaks volumes about our commitment, but the fact that we are not in a position to move towards a carbon neutral economy should not be ignored. So having said that, we should not even rule out the possibility of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. Just that it does not want to make an international commitment is a different thing. But India is definitely striving. That is the gist of this article. For Lok Adalats, speed overrides quality. What is a Lok Adalat? Lok Adalat is a innovative Indian contribution to the global jurisprudence. It is one of the efficient alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that have the potential to provide friendly settlements of differences. It is also providing us an inclusive justice as envisaged by the constitution of our country. Now, how is this possible? The peculiarity of this Lok Adalat is the fact that cases here are taken up when they are pending or at the pre-litigation stage in a court of law, and they are settled. So this Lok Adalat is actually based on Gandhian principles. And if you want to understand the legal basis, Lok Adalats were actually given statutory status under the Legal Services Authority Act. So Article 13(9)(a) of the Indian Constitution, that is the Directive Principles of State Policy, has actually directed the state to provide free legal aid for weaker sections of the society. Keeping in view this particular DPSP, the government came up with the Legal Services Authority Act 1987. So the bottom line here that we have to understand is, in Indian judiciary there are a lot of pending cases. So many that in 2009 the Law Commission has reported that it would take nearly 264 years for the existing pending cases to be solved. That is a very huge number. In this backdrop, the idea of Lok Adalat, which was working from the past 38 years, needs to be revisited. At the same time, it should be made mainstream because it has the potential to actually deliver what it is promising. That is reducing the number of cases in our judiciary. If you take a look at the number of litigations, a lot of them are very frivolous in nature, and government itself is one of the largest litigant in the existing cases in our judiciary. So considering this fact, probably taking up cases that involves the Indian government will actually help resolving the huge number of case burden with the help of Lok Adalats. So to this end, what this author is suggesting is we have to build the capacities of Lok Adalats and make them more famous and more adaptable. Compromise is at the heart of this entire idea of Lok Adalat. But there are certain caveats. A lot of legal experts believe that this idea of Lok Adalat will actually compromise not just the idea of litigation itself, but at the same time it will compromise the idea of justice. The reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes in a bid to deliver justice very quickly, some of the facts might be overlooked and the case might be compromised, which is ultimately the objective of Lok Adalat. Lok Adalats, like we have discussed, are forums maintained for reducing the caseload, and it is not a proper court which has the powers of a normal court. What it can do best is create arbitration mechanism for the litigants to come to a compromise. In this, there is a possibility that a lot of issues, like say for example matrimonial disputes, are also settled in a very amicable way without actually looking into the details on specifics of the issue. So this author believes that Lok Adalat is indeed a opportunity for us to dispose cases, but at the same time this issue of speed should not override the aspect of quality. With the new Chief Justice Mr. M.V. Ramana taking up the position of the Chief Justice of our country, so he hopes that in this new regime this issue will be taken up as soon as possible. That is the gist of this article.